All right, ready to dive into a subject that's, well, it's a little bit dangerous, isn't it?
It can be. It can be.
We're cracking open the art of seduction, right? Robert Greene.
Yeah.
He's going to be our guide through this world of, well, attraction, I guess, persuasion. And this isn't, I mean, this isn't like your average dating advice book, is it?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Greene's coming at this with like a real strategic like art form, this dance,
Yeah.
of psychology and influence that you find in more places than you think. Forget the cheesy pickup lines.
Okay, so we're talking about, so it's more than just romance
How
here.
much more? Yeah.
You're saying that this is something, he sees this as something that like pops up
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Seduction is it's about understanding and, let's be honest, playing on these deep-seated desires, these vulnerabilities we all have, creating a space for desire and connection. Doesn't that sound a little bit more sophisticated than a cheesy pickup line?
Yeah, it does. It really does. But how do you actually do that? Like subtly infiltrate someone's mind, like he says. I mean, that sounds kind of intense.
Well, I mean, take a page from someone like Cleopatra. I mean, history remembers her as like the ultimate seductress, right?
Right.
And, she may not have been like a classic beauty,
Right.
but she captivated some of the most powerful men of her time. Caesar, Mark Antony. It wasn't just her looks. She was a master of building rapport, of reflecting back to these men what they craved, power, luxury, the exotic.
So it's like she tapped into their desires to create that connection.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
But here's the thing. These subtle forms of seduction, they aren't just limited to history's biggest players.
Okay.
Greene would argue that they're all around us.
Really?
Remember that perfume ad you were mentioning?
Mm-hmm.
With the glamorous model and the tagline about, like, irresistible confidence?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
See?
I see where you're going with this.
What are they selling? They're not just selling the scent. They're selling a fantasy. They're selling the fantasy of allure, sophistication.
Right. They're playing
Right into
our desire. Yeah.
our desire to be seen as attractive, desirable.
Wow. So you're saying that even our everyday interactions have this element of...
All the time. Think about that charismatic salesperson who convinced you to buy those extra headphones even though you didn't need them. Or how about the way politicians use charisma and carefully chosen words to sway entire nations?
It's like this form of...
It's all a form of seduction.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is way more complex than I thought, and frankly, way more interesting.
And we're just getting started.
Oh, no.
What's really fascinating is that, Greene breaks this art of seduction down even further with his concept of 9 seducer archetypes.
Okay, hold on a second.
Each one,
9.
9, each one embodies a different flavor of seduction, a unique way of captivating, influencing others.
So we're saying we all have a little bit of like a, siren or a rake hiding inside us.
We all have a bit of each of these archetypes within us.
Okay, hold on. We got to unpack that. 9. 9 different types of seducers. Okay, so before we get too far, you're saying we all have a little siren or a rake, hiding inside us.
A little bit.
Right.
Imagine a whole like spectrum of seduction, okay? And each archetype, it's like a different approach, a different set of tools, different tactics.
Okay.
Greene, he lays out 9 of them. But
Yeah.
let's start with 2. I think these might sound a little familiar.
Okay.
The siren and the rake. I mean, they're practically legendary.
So the siren, like the creatures in the myths.
Yeah.
Who lured sailors, to their doom with their voices.
Exactly. But in Greene's world, the siren's power, it's all about their presence. This aura, allure, and mystery. Remember Cleopatra?
Right.
She embodies that archetype.
Yeah.
She understood the power of visuals, the mystique, embodying a fantasy.
So it's not about, manipulation or anything. It's about embodying something that draws people in.
It's magnetic.
Right.
And then you have the rake. Okay, so this is the other side of the coin. Think Casanova, James Bond.
Okay.
These characters just ooze charm and charisma.
Yeah.
But with a little danger,
A little dangerous.
a little edge. Greene actually writes, he says, the rake's greatest power is their ability to create the illusion of irresistible desire for their target while remaining emotionally detached.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Wow.
Masters of language, they create that can't have you so I must have you dynamic.
That's that bad boy thing, right?
Exactly.
They're exciting, unpredictable, maybe even a little dangerous. But see, this is where I get tripped up because don't these archetypes, I mean, they kind of rely on playing a role, right? So how much of it is like genuine?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think Greene would argue it's not necessarily about being fake. It's about tapping into those certain aspects of ourselves, you know,
Okay.
turning up the volume on certain qualities.
Yeah.
Remember, he believes we all possess these seductive powers
Yeah.
to some degree.
So let's say I'm starting to see myself in some of these. How does this actually play out in the real world? Give me an example.
Okay. Take Gabriel D'Annunzio, for example.
Okay.
Not a classically handsome guy,
Okay.
but he captivated women with his mastery of language.
Right.
Oh yeah. Greene uses him as like a prime example of how words can be just as powerful, if not more powerful, than any physical attribute.
Interesting.
D'Annunzio, he was a master, crafting poetic phrases, weaving words into like an intoxicating spell.
So like verbal seduction.
Verbal seduction, exactly. And what's even more interesting, he didn't limit these skills to just romantic pursuits. This guy, D'Annunzio, he almost became Italy's leader after World War I.
Get out.
Yeah, he used his way with words to captivate masses of people.
So it's like charisma on like steroids or something.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay. This is making me realize just how much power there is in understanding these subtle forms of influence. But we've only really talked about 2, right?
2 out of 9.
Okay, so we've got 7 more of these to go.
7 more to go, yeah. Each one offering a different perspective on how we connect, how we influence,
Yeah.
and how we seduce
Hmm.
in all aspects of our lives.
All right. I'm ready. Hit me with the next archetype.
Okay.
Okay, so sirens, they draw you in with their presence, right? And then you got your rakes, captivating with their charm and that, little dash of danger.
It's a potent mix.
It is. But we're not done, are we? We got 7 other types of seducers, according to Greene?
Yeah.
7 more. It's like he's saying there's all these different ways to be alluring, influential.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just to shake things up a bit.
Okay.
Let's contrast our siren, our rake,
Okay.
with a totally different archetype.
Okay.
The ideal lover.
The ideal. Okay, now that sounds kind of complicated.
It can be.
How does that one work?
So your siren and your rake, they kind of announce themselves.
Right.
The ideal lover,
Mhm.
much more subtle.
Okay.
They're masters of reflecting back to you your deepest desires, those unspoken longings you have.
Okay.
It's almost as if they become like a mirror to your ideal self.
Oh, wow.
They get you
Yeah.
on a deep level.
I can see how that's seductive. It's like they're creating this personalized fantasy, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. They're not necessarily trying to be someone they're not. It's more like they're curating this experience.
Yeah. Interesting. So how do the tactics, how's that different from, say, the rake, who's a little bit more direct?
It's
Right?
more direct, yeah.
So how's the ideal lover do it?
Okay, so think of it this way. The rake draws you in with this thrilling chase, right?
Mm-hmm.
It plays on your desire for excitement, for the unconventional. They might shower you with these grand gestures, passionate declarations. But the ideal lover, they take a more nuanced approach. They're masters of creating intimacy, connection. Think deep conversations, shared vulnerabilities, that feeling that you've truly found someone who gets you, like we were saying,
Okay.
deep down.
So the ideal lover seems a lot more, ideal.
Right.
I mean, isn't there a risk, though, of it being, I don't know, a facade? Like something that crumbles when that initial, allure sort of wears off.
Well, that's the paradox of the ideal lover, isn't it? Because their power, it comes from tapping into these genuine desires,
Mm-hmm.
even if the approach is, shall we say, carefully calculated.
Right.
And this is where Greene's insights, I think, get really fascinating. Because he's not saying these archetypes, they're not about manipulation or deceit even.
Yo.
He's saying they're like tools for understanding this dance of human interaction.
Okay. I am starting to get the bigger picture here, I think. It's like he's giving us this decoder ring almost for how this idea of seduction in all its different forms, it shapes our world, shapes our relationships, maybe even ourselves. But where does it all lead? What's the takeaway for someone listening to us right now?
Well, I think Greene's work, it throws down a challenge.
Okay.
He argues that, we all possess these seductive qualities,
Yeah.
whether it's, the siren's magnetism, the rake's charm, the ideal lover's intuition, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But so often we repress these parts of ourselves. We shove them down.
So what you're saying is there's a little siren, little rake, little ideal lover, and 6 other archetypes probably running around in all of us.
To some degree, yeah.
Man, that is a lot. That's a lot to process.
It is.
Wow. Well, you know what? This has been eye-opening, really it has. We explore this whole idea of seduction as an art form, this dance of psychology and influence that it really is everywhere, isn't it? From big romances to, our everyday interactions.
Everywhere, yeah.
We peeked into Greene's 9 seducer archetypes: siren, rake, ideal lover, the whole crew. And I think the big takeaway here is that we all have these powers within us.
We do.
It's true. So, listener, as we wrap up this deep dive here, think back on your own life, your own experiences. Have you ever met a siren or a rake? Maybe even an ideal lover? What was it about them? What drew you in? And maybe even more importantly, what about you? What seductive qualities do you possess? Who knows, this deep dive might be the key to unlocking those hidden powers.